Presenting is one of the most important skills that anyone can have. Now, I'm going to wing this episode, and you will see how I can present and I can talk to the camera. It won't be perfect because this is a more casual environment. It's late night. We've been recording all day. But I think every leader, whether you are at the top of the chain, you are a CEO, or you're just starting out and you want to influence those people around you, you need to be able to present. And we're not given the presentation skills in school that we should be given. I was very lucky with the opportunities I had, and I will talk about that and how that helped me. But today I'm going to break down the three aspects of presenting. The first is content, what you say. The second is delivery, oratory, how you say it. And the third is the rhetoric techniques, the writing of a good speech. And that can also be on the fly, as I'm doing today. So we're going to look at these three areas. We're going to jump straight in, and I hope you're ready to take notes. The first thing I can say about presenting is it's a practice game. Some people have it more naturally than others. Some people will need to practice more. But take a look at these pictures. This is me, age 12, speaking to an audience of 200 people, 250 people. And that wasn't the first time I've done it. I know I look really cute, and I still look equally as cute, and you can laugh and whatever. This is me presenting. Look at my suit and everything. I'm 12 years old delivering a speech. I was pushed into these opportunities. At school, we had assemblies from when I was in, year 4, year 3. We would get up on stage and we'd learn our lines and we'd stand up and speak to what seems like a huge filled hall, but is actually what, 30 people, 40 people? Still, from there, when I was 10 years old to 12 years old on the stage at my friend's bar mitzvah speaking, and I prepared this so over and over again with my parents, speaking slow, speaking loud, speaking clear, in a very 12-year-old way, and obviously you become more sophisticated, through to when I was 16, 17, 18, and I spoke more and more, and I was into acting and theatre, and I was doing performances in that world as well, but presenting and practicing is the only way to get good at it. So when you practice, sometimes it's just important to do it on your own in your room. Okay, just like I'm alone in a room now. Yes, it's true that I've got cameras which add a bit of pressure, and that's a really good technique to use. So, start by presenting just talking to your mirror, talking to the door of your bedroom, pick a point on the door and say, right, that's my audience's face, that's where I'm going to look, and deliver to the audience of your door. Then turn on a camera and add that pressure of speaking to a recording. It's a step up. Then add feedback, and feedback is important. Now, don't take feedback from everyone. You have to find the right people to give feedback. Some people, they will be well-meaning when they give feedback, but it's not the best thing for you. But get feedback, learn from others, listen to your parents, listen to whoever you have around you who can give you advice, whether that's a teacher, a friend, a supervisor in your business. And no matter how experienced you are in presenting, you will want someone to give you feedback. And also by presenting to other people in a casual, non-essential environment, you'll become more comfortable of speaking in front of people. Now, when I posted these photos on LinkedIn earlier today, Rabbi Sands Millen, who I've had on an earlier episode of the podcast, you should definitely go and check it out, commented. And he told me how he would have his youngest daughter stand at the Shabbat dinner table. She would stand on a chest freezer and speak to all the guests they had. He was a campus rabbi. He'd often have a lot of guests. And now his daughter, he says, loves public speaking. And it comes from this practice. It comes from being comfortable. I think a lot of the uncomfortableness comes from this fear that we have of what will people think? How will I look? But I've made a dozen mistakes already on this podcast. I've stuttered, I've ummed, I've ahed. And you probably haven't even noticed most of them. You may have noticed some of them, but this is a recording in high quality that you're going to be watching over time. When you're delivering on stage, live to an audience, the pressure's even higher, but for no good reason. And you hear these cliches like imagine the audience naked or just look straight up, or there are lots of cliches. Find your way to become comfortable in front of an audience. My way is doing it again and again and until I just don't care what they think about me. I say what you need to do in life is get rejected. You need to ask a few people out and get rejected. You need to go for a few jobs and get rejected. You need to pick up the phones and make sales and receive objections and rejections after rejection and objection. You need to be so shot down that you lose the personal care and you move on to an ability to get past it, and self-confidence. It's moving from this kind of, you don't want arrogance, but you want to know that you can deliver. So when you get up, your fear isn't causing the problems, because that's the vicious cycle. You're scared of the problems or of it going wrong, and that fear causes you to go wrong, which makes you stutter even more and makes you more scared, and it's just a vicious cycle. But as soon as you're in the mind frame of, hey, I'm here to present, the audience is going to listen to me, then you can deliver an incredible presentation. And don't get me wrong, it's okay to be nervous. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel nerves. That's impossible. I mean, if you look at one of my most viral, let's say, videos of one of my speeches, which not many have been filmed, but there was this one I delivered where I told the story of the Lion King as if it was me. And the speech it was very, very popular. It went down really well. I was so jelly before that, like jelly legs and butterfly stomach. But I went up and I thought, right now, if this goes wrong, I do not care. The audience can judge me. I do not care. People can laugh, people can be talking, whatever it is. Because when I do care about what they're doing, when I am so invested in their reactions, I will start to overinterpret their reactions. So one person turns and mutters to someone else, one person checks their phone, and I think, oh no, I'm boring them all. When actually, those are the ones who have moved, so those are the ones who have seen, when the rest of the people are static, they're stationary, and they're looking straight at me, so I don't notice them. I notice the one who's moving, and it's nothing to do with me. It's the fact that his 5-year-old kid has called because he's hurt, and as a parent, he's gonna answer the phone, and it's nothing to do with my presentation or not. So when you're not so invested, when you don't care so much about the presentation, you can let go of these fears, which will make you a better presenter. And the way to stop caring is to do it more and more and more, and screw up and fuck up and make mistakes, and then do it again and do it all over again until you are as fluent as that. So that's my advice on delivery, on getting up and giving a great speech. You need to do it and do it again and do it again. You also need to find your own delivery style. I can talk very fast. I know how to talk very fast and very clearly at the same time. I'm very tired. That probably wasn't even clear. But I can talk very fast and very clearly, and you'll probably hear that on the podcast that I'm talking very fast at sometimes. But that's my style, and I know that I can balance both, and I know that a lot of people will be able to understand me. Not everyone can do that, and I couldn't do it at times. So sometimes I know that I need to slow down because I'm presenting maybe to an international audience. And for them, English might not be their first language. So even though I speak rather clearly, I need to be slower, like I'm doing now. And I'm quite a high energy person. My delivery is high energy, and I'm dramatic, and I bring the full drama of the stage, which I always dreamed of in the West End and I never got to. But I bring that full vision with me. Whereas some people, when they present, they don't have that stage owning drama, but they suck you in with their captivating voice, their deep insights. And you can listen to these people speak, and you can listen to their voices, and it's incredible, and that's their style. So to find your own delivery style, watch all these people. I'll tell you some of my inspirations. Barak Obama, whether you love or hate his politics, I don't care. As an orator, he's one of the greatest there are today. The former chief rabbi, Lord Jonathan Sacks, is also an incredible orator. And I would look for some spoken word poets. So if you don't know what spoken word poetry is, it's poetry, but it's not designed just to be given to someone on a piece of paper for them to read, but it's poetry that the artist performs or writes for someone to perform and add a whole new level to it. Look at spoken word poets. They are the masters of expression and of different styles. You can look for, who was it that I really liked? Sarah Kay, I think her name is. Check out her TED Talk on spoken word poetry, and it starts off with one of her poems. It's absolutely incredible. But watch these people. Watch more. Watch the greats. Watch Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was... he slurred his speech. I can't understand it, but he's known to be a great orator for some reason. So watch him. Watch Lincoln. Watch all the speeches you can watch and find your style. I want to now move on from oratory to rhetoric, to literary devices. Now, when you're writing a speech, there are loads of these that you can use. And I'm going to give you some with fancy names. I'm only going to start with one or two because you can Google, you can learn more. But the key to remember here is that you probably learned some of these techniques in school, and your teachers probably had you analyze whether you were studying in school 10 years ago or 50 years ago. Teachers probably said to you, look at this piece of Shakespeare, or look at Macbeth, that is Shakespeare, look at Animal Farm and look at this poem and tell me what techniques the author is using. And you're thinking, and I thought, the author didn't sit down and said, okay, I'm going to use Anaphora now. I'm not going to sit and I'm going to write with pathetic fallacy. It's like no author, maybe some, but you don't think that that's how they write. But although they're not consciously thinking, I'm going to use Anaphora, what they've done is they've internalized the technique so much that it just pours out on the paper. And I do that when I'm speaking. You'll notice when I speak, I will use the rule of 3, I will use Anaphora, and I will use cadences. See, I did that with the rule of 3 just to prove my point. But the more you practice using these, so the more you've got to learn them, you've got to read about them, understand them, identify them in other people, you'll start to notice them. So you'll have learned about Anaphora and you won't be looking for it, but you'll hear a speech and you'll be like, that was a nice use of sibilants. That was a nice use of assonance. That was a nice use of epistrophe. And then you'll start to write and you'll start to find yourself using it subconsciously, not unconsciously, subconsciously. You'll find yourself using these techniques. So if you're thinking, that's not natural, who actually looks at these techniques except in the classroom? Knowing the techniques will help you use them naturally. So one really important technique, which is really easy to get around, is Anaphora, which is repeating the same word at the start of a phrase. And I'm just going to give this an example. Let me just look for an example. Right, Winston Churchill, during World War II, he gave a really famous speech. Again, as I said, his speech is slurred. It's very difficult to understand. He was once described in Parliament as speaking like he was drunk, and it sounds like it. But this is his speech that's known as "We shall fight on the beaches." And the effect is so powerful because he uses this technique, Anaphora, repeating the same words at the start of a phrase. The speech goes like this. We shall not flag or fail. We shall go on till the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and the oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. I mean, that is powerful. And I'm just repeating it in the studio. I'm not in the middle of war speaking to Parliament about how we shall never surrender. And no, he did not sit down and think, I'm going to write this with Anaphora. Neither did Martin Luther King in the really famous example, his I Have a Dream speech. It goes like this, and even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even in the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I could go on, the I have a dream goes on, and then later he goes on, he says, with this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith. It's one of the most pivotal speeches in world politics, in the civil rights movement and beyond. Everyone knows that speech, or knows of that speech, even if you can't say it. Did he sit down and say, right, I'm going to use Anaphora? No, he did not. In fact, that I Have a Dream speech, he half-winged it based on other speeches which he had given, and he just sort of got up and spoke. But he internalized these devices. So go out, look for devices. Look at Anaphora, look at syncope, look at epistrophe. Google rhetoric devices for speeches, and you will find stuff. One more technique I want to speak to you about, which crosses over between the delivery and the techniques. This is silence. Now, you don't usually go silent on a podcast because your audience will think, where has he gone? But I want you to count with me in your head the seconds of the silence that I'm about to go. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to count the silence. 3, 2, 1, go. That was 12 seconds of silence. To deliver that into a speech, you have to have your audience so captivated to be able to deliver it. But if you manage it, oh my goodness, you've won. The best example of this, I'm going back to Barak Obama, his Charleston speech. He was following a shooting by a white supremacist in a church. Obama is speaking at the memorial to thousands of people. Write this down, Google Obama Charleston eulogy, and just search for it. He starts singing Amazing Grace at the end. Amazing Grace, for the Brits among us, is like it's a spiritual anthem in America. It's not the national anthem, but it's a very important and significant song in American culture. So Obama, he finishes his previous sentence and he waits 2 seconds and he says, "Amazing Grace," and then he waits 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he says, "Amazing Grace." And then he waits 12 seconds where the audience is pin drop silent. Just imagine it again. He says, "Amazing Grace." And then he starts to sing, "Amazing Grace." And, the singing it's good. It's not perfect. He's not a singer. He's a president. But the singing is so powerful. He gets really into it, and the organ comes in and everyone gets involved and they're cheering as he sings. But it's powerful because of the contrast with the silence. So if Barack Obama, the president, can be silent for 12 seconds, and you have to be an orator on his level, and if someone as high energy as me, who loves speaking and who speaks fast and who speaks loud, can be silent, you can be silent too. And there was a technique that I was taught to help yourself not think about making ums and ahs. If you think you're too slow, you're being too slow and you need to get past the gaps. If you're delivering a speech, just think, get up, move along to the next chair and sit down. I'll show you what I mean. So I've given a sentence and I need to think of my next sentence and I'm going but instead of saying in your head, stand up, step to the left and sit down. And then the time it takes you to do that, you've got a nice pause. It's okay. So make sure you have your audience captivated if you're going to use silence, but use silence. I have to wrap up now. It's been a long episode and there is so much more that we could speak about with presenting, and I probably will speak about presenting more. But just remember, we've spoken about practice. Practice is everything. You saw those pictures of me age 12. Parents, if you've got kids, whether they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, up until you can't tell them what to do anymore, get them to speak in public, get them to perform, whether it's in front of the dinner table with 5 people, whether it's at school, push them into it. It's the greatest gift you could give them amongst many others. It's such a great gift to give them. If you want to learn more about presenting, about presentation skills, I'll be releasing a few blogs, so make sure you're staying up to date with my blogs, drorwayne.com. Make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn, add me on Instagram, send me a message if this has helped you. If you want to get any feedback on your speeches, anything like that, reach out, let me know. More than happy to help. Have a great night and keep creating magic.